In a small, quiet village, there lived a family of 3, Mr. and Mrs. Udo and their only daughter, Joy. Life was hard for them. Every day, they did whatever jobs they could find, barely making enough to eat. Mr. Udo would go out in search of work at construction sites, carrying heavy loads, while Mrs. Udo washed clothes for wealthier families in the village. They worked tirelessly, hoping that one day, they could give Joy a better life. Joy, a cheerful and kind girl, was the light of their lives. She was just 10 years old but already dreamed of going to school, learning, and making her parents proud. Her parents had the same dream. They saved every little they could, no matter how hard it was, all to give her a chance to get an education and escape the poverty they lived in. But life took a tragic turn one evening. While returning from the day's work, Mr. and Mrs. Udo were involved in a terrible accident. They never came back home. That night, young Joy sat outside waiting, but her parents didn't return. The next day, the village elders came to tell her the sad news, and Joy's heart broke. She was left all alone in the world, with only the memories of her parents and their dreams for her future. After the burial, the elders decided that Joy would be sent to Lagos to live with her Aunt Patricia, her mother's older sister. Aunt Patricia owned a small restaurant in the bustling city, and everyone thought she would care for Joy. But life with Aunt Patricia was nothing like what Joy had known with her parents. From the day Joy arrived, her aunt made her work in the restaurant, serving food, washing plates, and running errands. Aunt Patricia showed no love, only harsh words and long hours of labor. But the worst was yet to come. Aunt Patricia soon began using Joy for other things. Some of the men who came to the restaurant noticed her, and Aunt Patricia saw an opportunity. She started sending Joy out with these men, forcing her into things a child should never know about, just to make extra money. Each night, Joy would cry herself to sleep, but no one was there to help her. As time passed, Joy became thinner and weaker. Her spirit, once so full of life, began to fade. The beatings from Aunt Patricia grew worse, and the workload never lessened. One day, after running an errand, Joy walked home deep in thought. Her mind was filled with memories of her parents, their love, and how happy she once was. She wasn't paying attention to her surroundings and stepped right into the road just as a car was speeding toward her. The driver, a young man named David, slammed on the brakes, but it was too late. Joy fell to the ground, and everything went dark. Joy woke up in a hospital bed, not sure where she was. Her body ached, and her head felt heavy. She blinked, trying to remember, but everything was a blur. All she knew was that her life had been nothing but pain for so long. A soft voice nearby spoke to her. "Are you awake?" the voice said gently. She turned her head to see a young man. His eyes looked worried, and he had a kind smile. He was the one who had brought her to the hospital after the accident. His name was David, and he had felt terrible about what happened. "You don't remember, do you?" he asked. Joy shook her head slowly. David told her what had happened. He explained that she had run into the street, lost in thought, and his car had hit her. Joy felt scared and tried to sit up, but the pain held her back. "Don't worry. I'll take care of everything," David promised, seeing her fear. David was not just any young man. He was the son of a senator and came from a wealthy family. When he looked at Joy, he felt sadness in his heart. He had never seen a girl so young look so broken. Her eyes, once filled with pain, now showed emptiness. David knew she had been through too much for someone her age. Days passed, and David often came to visit Joy in the hospital. Slowly, she started to trust him. One day, he asked her about her life, and she told him everything. She told him about her parents, their accident, and how her Aunt Patricia had taken her to Lagos. She spoke of how Aunt Patricia treated her badly, how she was forced to work and was even sent to strange men. Tears rolled down her cheeks as she remembered the pain. David was shocked. He could not believe the terrible things she had gone through. Deep inside, he knew he had to do something. So, he spoke to his parents about Joy's situation. His parents were kind people and agreed to help her. When Joy was finally discharged from the hospital, David and his family took her in. For the first time in a long time, she had a safe place to sleep. She had her own room, clean clothes, and food. She no longer had to worry about where her next meal would come from or if someone would hurt her. David's mother, Mrs. Abiola, noticed that Joy was quiet and shy. She rarely smiled and seemed to always be looking over her shoulder. But Mrs. Abiola was patient. She spent time with Joy, asking her about her interests, what she liked to eat, and even teaching her how to cook. Little by little, Joy began to feel like she had a family again. One day, David came to Joy with good news. "Joy, we found a school for you," he said with a big smile. Joy's eyes widened. She had always dreamed of going to school, but she never thought it would happen. She looked at David, surprised and grateful. "I don't know how to thank you," she whispered, her voice breaking with emotion. David shook his head. "You don't have to thank me, Joy. You deserve this." Joy started attending school, and she loved it. Though it was challenging at first, she had missed many years of learning. She worked hard. She wanted to honor her parents' memory and the sacrifices they had made. She studied day and night, asking for help from her teachers and David's family whenever she needed it. She was determined to succeed. But life wasn't easy for Joy. She still had nightmares about Aunt Patricia and the things she went through. Sometimes, she would wake up crying, her body shaking with fear. David's family noticed, and they continued to support her. They arranged for her to talk to a counselor, someone who helped her heal from the trauma. The counselor encouraged Joy to let go of her painful past and focus on the new life she was building. Over time, Joy grew stronger. She made friends at school, started to laugh again, and even had dreams for her future. She wanted to be a teacher, to help other children who felt lost like she once did. She wanted to show them that no matter how dark life seemed, there was always hope. Years later, as Joy graduated from school, she looked out into the crowd. David and his family were there, cheering her on. Tears filled her eyes as she thought of her parents, who had started this journey for her. She knew they would be proud. Joy's story became a message of hope. She visited orphanages and talked to children about overcoming hardships. She shared her journey, inspiring others who felt abandoned or broken. Though her past was filled with pain, she found a way to turn that pain into strength. And so, Joy went on to live a life that honored her parents' dreams. She was no longer the sad, broken girl who had once wandered the streets of Lagos. She had become a symbol of resilience, a girl who rose from her pain and became a light for others.